At any one time, hundreds of thousands of kids in countries all around the world are suffering and they are dying because of a lack of access to urgent medical care. Very often, they're not suffering because they can't access a doctor or a hospital at all. They're suffering because they can't afford to pay for the treatment they need. And very often that's simple stuff. It's antibacterials or a simple procedure. What if someone came up with a tech-driven solution that would enable those patients and their doctors and their families to directly access people around the world with the resources who are willing to fund the treatment they need to save their lives? Today's guest has done just that. Nikita, thanks for joining us on the Tech for Good podcast. I'm really excited to kick off a whole new year talking about Helpster, because you're trying to do ambitious and interesting things, but the journey that you've been on trying to achieve that is really interesting. So you're the founder of Helpster. Give us the elevator pitch. Just what is Helpster? What is it? What is it all about?
I was looking to find a system for me where I can give some help to somebody directly and see immediate result, that what I do and this is the result, that's what I get. And I couldn't find any. So I started to think that we should create something like this, where you can come there, you can put your money and you can immediately see what happened with your money, what is the result, actual result, not the statistical report 1 year after. So we started to formulate how Helpster should work, and we started with a simple idea. Are there people whom we can help with medical bills and save their lives? And if we don't do it, they're not going to survive. Are there people on Earth like this? And how much does it cost? How much does it cost to save a life? Right now, it was 2021. So to our surprise, we found out there's a lot of people like that. And the amount of money is very low. It is as low as $200. Somebody will not survive today because they don't have $200 to pay for their medical bill. In their country, there is no health insurance, free medical care, and you have to take care of yourself. If you don't have that kind of money, basically you're done. You go home. And first we checked these cases, and we found out local cases. It was in Nigeria, I believe. We found out hospital. We found out locally everything with the volunteers, with friends, that there are such patients. So we did the whole process. We paid for their bill. That they got treated, and everything was fine with patient. So I saw their opportunity that we have to create a system that will match such cases, people who want to help and people who need help. So we created an app where all cases have full documentation, have photos, videos, with the request of help. That somebody or somebody's child, they say, okay, this is my child, this is the invoice, this is a doctor, this is a hospital. We check through everything, and if all looks fine, we put it in the app, and you can go directly and help this person. And this person will live because you help them directly, without any big funds, huge organizations, loan process, directly from your credit card, and the 95% of your money will go to the hospital, not to the patient, which is important.
Right.
Go to hospital to pay for their bill, and then we will check that patient has been treated. This is their documents, and we will put the documents in the app. It was the basic idea, and that's how we started it.
Right. So since 2021, so...
Since 2021, we started to do it. I believe first patient was treated in 2022.
Right.
Beginning of 2022.
So it's a pandemic-flavored innovation that you've been working on, and I guess that provides a backdrop to this kind of need. But just to summarize from my understanding, there are people, millions of people, who would suffer bad consequences, possibly and often death for want of basic, actually quite simple treatments. We could be talking about antibiotics or simple
Oh yes,
procedures.
antibiotics or malaria treatment.
Right.
Yeah, some of them are even lower than $200. But right now in the system we have close to $300 per case.
Right. And these are the sorts of people who would actually not even attend a hospital or whatever, but they just don't have access to the money to pay for it directly. It's relatively small amounts of money. There are people elsewhere who would be more than willing to help them out. The first thing that popped up in my head when you started talking was GoFundMe, because that's some. Now, there's a reason why that doesn't work for these kinds of people, obvious reasons, but it's kind of that idea, but just much more direct, right? I need help. I'm going to die if I don't get it. This is the hospital that I want to get help from. Can you give them some money so that I can live, please? Essentially is the idea, isn't it? It's a really direct relationship.
Yeah. Totally direct, and that's exactly what we do. We have to check all the steps.
Yeah.
But yes, basically that's exactly what you described.
Right. So I'm going to really investigate how it is, because it seems to me that it's an absolutely fantastic idea, but one that's fraught with challenges to overcome in terms of how you can build trust in that system and validate everything and negotiate the global nature of it. But before we get to that, I'd just like to know a bit more about you. What were you doing at the time? How did you sort of in 2021 say, you know what, this is what I want to do next? What had you been doing up until that point?
I'm a serial entrepreneur. I do tech startups for about 20 years. Some of them successful, most of them, of course, not. And I always had the idea that I have to create something that is purely for good, because I personally feel that this world given a lot to me, and I got much more than I've given. And I was thinking that something with my experience, with what I did with commercial startups, I can put all this knowledge, all this experience into something that is for something really good, not just money. So it was my personal intention to do something like this. But it took me a long time to arrive to this idea, where it's like effectiveness is what is most important. Effectiveness and transparency. That is what is important, and that really works, and it's for everybody.
Yeah. Cool. So, I mean, talking about transparency then, because obviously the concept is really quite straightforward, but it all rests on trust. So you've got to be able to work out, presumably, that the patient in need of care is a real patient, and it's not just someone who's identified an opportunity. The hospital that they're going to get care at is a real hospital and is actually going to deliver the treatment. And that you can then validate those things to the people at the other end who you're asking to contribute towards that care, right? So tell us a bit about that. That feels like the big hurdle to me. How did you address that? How have you overcome that problem?
I would say legal-wise and setup-wise, it was one of the most difficult businesses or companies that I ever set up, because nobody believes you. It's a really low level of trust. Patients don't believe you're going to cure them. You're going to do something horrible to them or to their kids. Hospitals don't believe you. They think you are up to some shady business. Banks don't even want to open bank accounts for your registered charity company, because they just don't believe that's what you do. They say you are doing it for something else. We don't trust you. We don't believe you. So in the beginning, we had very, very big issues with just really try to help a person. If you personally will try tomorrow to send money to a Nigerian hospital, you say you want to cure somebody, you will have big headaches with your bank. They will not believe you. They will say, "Oh, it's a scammers." A lot of horrible stuff you will have with your truly honest intentions to do it. Yeah, and of course we have problems with the local fraud, where the patient is not really sick, or where doctors try to put in invoice some procedures that are more expensive, but that are not needed for this diagnosis. So we know all that, and we check it. We check with the patients. Our volunteers check the patients. We check with doctors, and we work with hospitals that are trustable. And slowly we build trust. And of course, when you have, like we have about, as of today, 700 children that we saved. Right now, slowly, it's getting bigger. But it is as with any other brand that you create. Nobody trusts it in the beginning.
No.
So I believe as long as we do it, when we have 10,000 cases, 100,000 cases, it will be much easier for us. But in the beginning, it's very hard.
Right. And you mentioned volunteers, and so I know I've we've seen some photos and videos of your actual outreach work on the ground.
Yeah.
In you mentioned Nigeria, but I'm guessing other countries as well in that particular part of the world for now. What is that in terms of that on the ground work? What has that involved for you? You've got volunteers, but what else? What have you been doing over there to build up this trust?
We have employees, full-time employees, and they are paid market salaries. And we ask them as from full-time employees, not as from volunteers who are from time to time helping us. I personally do not believe too much in free work. Okay, I will work for free, but I will work maybe not so good. I don't believe in that. I say, okay, we pay you market salary, but you work really hard, like you would do in a real startup that has to run very hard, has to hit their numbers, reach the KPI. So in each country, we have a country manager, and they are like a main person who deal with local people, hospitals, volunteers. For volunteers, we cover some expenses, but it's not our employees. So they don't work for free, but they are not full-time employees, so we call them volunteers. Yeah. So cases have to be checked. Some work has to be done on the ground. But the way we find cases, in the beginning, we try to do online because we are very experienced tech people. We know how to buy traffic, marketing, and all that is nothing compared to just take a doctor, take the bag of medicine, take the little banner with the Helpster logo, and go in some very far away village, just stand there and say, free doctor. And people from all over will come and explain their cases. We will consult them for free. And whoever needs antibiotics on something easy, we give it immediately. But some cases we see that somebody needs surgery and somebody has to pay for this surgery. So we're going to take this case, we're going to onboard them, and we're going to put them in fundraising inside the app. And this was actually the best way to find cases. It's the most cheap, most effective, and also we treat people there on the ground immediately.
Right. And so that trust is kind of rooted in actually having a personal relationship with these people. It's not just an online marketplace. The validation is on the ground. You
can do online. You can go right now if you are a patient or your close one is a patient in those countries. This is Nigeria, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Kenya. That's where we work right now. We have direct contracts with hospitals. You can go online, you can upload all the information, and you will go through our filtering process. And if everything is fine, you'll be there. So what volunteer does, he will go to a person, he will ask them the same question, he will do the same thing. It will go to our system and upload all the data. So no, you don't need to personally catch a volunteer. Yeah, you can do it online. Sometimes hospitals are source of cases because doctors see somebody, okay, this is the patient, he needs to be treated, and they don't have money. And then they contact us and say, if it's urgent, we're going to say, okay, treat them now, we're going to fundraise money sooner or later. And we kind of credit the surgery for a person.
Wow. So you were saying that there's you've got hundreds of kids specifically now that have had treatment via the Helpster system. So what kind of things are they being treated for? Are there some examples that you can think of off the top of your head?
There's a lot of malaria cases, infections cases, sometimes with ability to move. something with limbs. Also, we started to cure severe pain when it's not life-threatening, but the person is constantly in pain.
Right.
So we will take such cases. Yeah. So our only criteria is how cheap is to save a person and how urgent is his case.
Yeah. Oh, you've just given us a thumbs up. That was remarkable. Was that on cheap or urgent? But those are two criteria that, because of course this was going to be my next question.
Mm-hmm.
There's a supply and demand thing. So there's an ugly job in the middle of all this, which is to try to cascade and organize in priority order the people that need help versus the supply of help from the other end. And you do that by looking at those two categories.
Anything subjective we remove. We don't care. It's your age, your race, your country, your religion. That doesn't bother us at all. You are a human being. You urgently need help. And to save your life is cheaper than everybody else. You will be on top of the list.
Right.
If your life is to save your life cost $1 million, we will not be able to help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's simply a realism thing.
For $1, we need to save maximum lives.
Yeah.
That's our goal.
Yeah. Wow. So tell us a little bit more about some of the challenges you've had. So you talked about how no one would believe you in the first instance, that you actually genuinely want to just do something that's directly good for people. It's a charity, and I believe you are rooted in Estonia.
We have two organizations. One is in the US, which is 501(c) nonprofit.
Yeah.
That is actually will deduct taxes from those who donate. And the second one is in Estonia. Yeah.
Right. And so having founded the organization, you need to get bank accounts. You need to be able to facilitate international transactions and so on. So
we started in Estonia, and we found out that there is no bank that wanted to open bank account for us. We had Estonian citizens as the shareholders, and we showed the whole story, how it works. And basically no bank opened us a bank account. One bank opened a bank account. And after first transaction, they just send us a letter, we close your bank account, because all of a sudden you somehow send money to Nigeria. And even though that's exactly what we explained to them, but nowadays compliance in bank, it's a big issue.
Uh-huh.
But I'm sure everybody is dealing with it now. But if you do non-profit, it's 10 times more.
Right.
It's just a disaster.
But you managed to get through that one way or another. It was part of the early grind.
So the day I met a CEO of payment company, and they say, I understand what you do. I believe in what you do. I will open your account inside of our system. You will be able to operate.
Right. So literally you had to just go to the top and get
I have
kind
to
of
go
an executive
to the
shortcut.
bank owner. And that's when it started to work. It is very hard. It's not easy.
Right. And in terms of other regulatory issues, because obviously a charity or an NGO operating in Estonia versus the US and doing things around the world is going to have different regimes of regulations and controls and things like that everywhere you work. And presumably your goal is to facilitate a direct relationship between anybody in the world to anybody in the world. Well, not anybody in the world, but anyone who fits your criteria of being in need. How hard is it to negotiate those things in each of those different places? It must be really time-consuming.
It is problem. If we have in America money and we want to send this money to a Nigerian hospital, the American bank will not want to send this money. They will ask you 10,000 documents, even though you do it again and again. And after that, Nigerian hospital will say, okay, our bank giving us a headache. They don't want to accept this money. You are not charitable organization in Nigeria. Please come and open NGO in a non-profit organization in Nigeria. And that's what you have to deal with instead of spending this money to help directly people, we will have to open non-profit in Nigeria, for example.
Right.
We are doing it, but we're going to do it all. Nobody's going to stop us.
Excellent. Well, that's good. I mean, that leads neatly onto my next question, really, and kind of just to round off this conversation, which was, it's been 4 years, 3 or 4 years of what sounds like a continuous effort of a continuous kind of problem-solving, firefighting grind. But you've got to the place now where hundreds of kids are literally now alive or not in pain.
Yes.
Because of Helpster. That's presumably enough to say, actually, now let's do the next 600-700, let's do the next 10,000, 100,000. What do you hope the next 5 years will look like for Helpster?
Well, I'm a dreamer, and I try to always dream big. I believe in this world there should not be people who die because they don't have $300 in their pocket. And we're going to push toward this goal. And I hope that eventually we will have more funding than there are cases. And then we move to $400 and upper. And there will be no people at some point that...
Then you can shift your criteria. Yeah.
Their right to live is taken from them by society, by government, by the financial situation in the world. I believe it's not fair. We will try to fix it. And of course, Helpster will go with their main KPI is save lives. Their first goal is 1,000. I believe it will be in near response. Next will be 10,000. I believe in 5 years we'll do 1 million. And by that point, I believe we will be strong movement, and maybe we will go to other areas to help in other way when we find out. Maybe at some point we understand, okay, it's time, it will be more reasonable to build a hospital over there in the area and hire doctors rather than paying commercially. But it's a long time down the road. Right now, we need to save people who cannot help themselves right now. Other people know how to deal with governments, with the health system, with the insurance system. Maybe they will fix it on that end and we will have no cases. I'll be very happy. But right now, I have hundreds of cases waiting to be solved, to be treated, and we are working hard on it.
Yeah. So just give us the vital statistics. So there are people right now who need help. You've built a system where people should be able to know that if they choose to help, that will happen, and they will get the evidence back to prove it. Where do they go to do that?
You go to helpstercharity.us. It is our US company. You can see the real-time database of all the patients that have been treated, that are in treatment right now. You can go download the app and choose specific patient that I want to help directly. And this person will be treated, and you will see directly the results. All the documents will be uploaded after it is done. On the other way, if you don't want to play God, and most people don't want to do it, they don't want to choose. I was surprised by it. I was thinking that I choose this person and I help them, and I was thinking that will inspire people. It's not the case in most of the times. People just want to help, but they don't want to be his hand who choose who to leave. Yeah. You can just donate directly, and we will go according to our criteria, which I said earlier. It's urgency and cheapness, and the money will go to those first who need the care most right now.
Right. But whether someone chooses or not, they will find out what it is that their money has done for whoever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We do it completely transparent as possible. All money that is donated goes to medical bills. All the cases are transparent. All documents are there and there forever. We have consent from patients or their parents that this data stays there. So whatever we can do to be transparent, we do. And if we don't do something and something somebody believes we should do, please advise, and we will change it. I want this organization to be 100% transparent, and I want it also to work beyond my lifespan. So I'm trying to setting up principles now, how it will operate, how it will be ongoing, and it is very important for me to not make mistakes.
Brilliant. So come to techforgood.net. We will put links to Helpster, charity.us on there. We'll put a link to apps and things on there as well. Make sure people can get it. I'd very much like to stay in tune with your progress, and hopefully that means we can see some more. We can repeat this conversation at some point. We can have some more content coming through techforgood.net for people to read. But it's noble and brilliant. Nowhere near as simple as it should be, clearly. But it must be a hell of a feeling to know that you're directly contributing to the to saving actual lives and using technology to do it. It's tech for good writ large.
I think we're just in the beginning of our journey. I'll be very happy to have conversation with you anytime you call me. I think soon I will feel that we're doing it, but right now I feel we're just starting.
Yeah. Everyone's got to start, and then ultimately they'll change the world. I think that's the way it's going to go. I can feel it. Anyway, until we do have that conversation, Nikita, thank you very much for joining us. It's brilliant to find out more. I urge everybody to go and click through and join in what I think is a really good way to start a whole new year positively. So thanks very much for joining us once again.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. Thank you.